Hi, sir. Afternoon.
Sorry, I'm on mute. I'm on mute now. Sorry. All right. I thought no one was going to show up. Let's wait for a few minutes lang, Nash.
Sige, sir. I'm telling my classmates then to
Thanks
try.
for that. No?
Good afternoon po, sir.
Good afternoon. Yeah. I'll start siguro in a minute or two. Sige, I don't want to waste your time. No? Thank you. No? There's 6 of us now. All right. Sige, so good news. I know you guys are very busy. This will be our last lecture, last synchronous session. I'll be finishing module 5 because next week is Bonifacio Day, so we don't have class on Tuesday, and December 7 is part of the study days period, so can also have class, but I'll announce later. I might do an ask me anything session in case anyone will have other questions for the FIO, etc., etc. Sige, let's start. No, I just let me know if you can't see my screen or I'm breaking up. All right. So again, I posted module 4. I published it last, I think Wednesday or Thursday. Very short, 3 pages lang, I think, or 4. If you haven't started it, I'm sure you guys, most of you were busy yesterday with finalizing homework 2. So if you can start module 5, again, I think you can do it in one sitting. Very interesting. Especially this is suited for you guys because you guys are management students. You will, most of you will likely be will be joining the private sector after you graduate as well. Reminder lang, there is one final discussion board in module 5, and for all discussion boards, if you haven't been answering them, I will close all of them on December 17, 11:59 p.m. So I will not grade each discussion board individually. No, I will treat them as an aggregate. And remember, online participation accounts for 20% of your grade. So keep that in mind because the bulk of that 20% goes is based on your discussion boards. Reminders on the final integrated output. So deadline is on Friday, December 17, 11:59, as Ms. Enha uh, mentioned to you. It's part of the guidelines that she sent out. If you need additional guidance, especially on the SOCSI part, quote unquote SOCSI part, I discussed that in a previous synchronous session, I think 2 or 3 synchronous sessions ago. So you can watch that video or just rely on the deck that I presented that day. I forget when I did that. So again, all the lectures, the recording of the lectures as well as the decks, I post that at the end of each corresponding module. So you can watch and or view the decks. So please lang, no? And I was surprised, no? I was checking out the submissions this morning. I saw that parang, oh wow, for this class, there were 9 submissions. As I told you previously, no, only one person needs to submit. Doesn't have to be 2 people because it's the same output naman. So only one person should submit. And let me know, no, if you have any questions or concerns right now on the FIO. This module 5 is very short, so the summary I'll be doing or the preview in case you haven't started it will also be short. So we can spend some time if you have some questions on the final integrated output. Wala naman. So I'll just proceed, no, if I don't see anyone raising his or her hand or asking a question. I'll just continue. So again, as I mentioned earlier, after this session, we'll actually be done by tonight. No session next week. Bawal, of course, it's a holiday. And I don't think we can have class during study days. No? I think this is something new to me. No? We never had study days before during my time. So probably this was adopted outside, no, abroad. Instead, and I'll still do this, no, but again, no pressure, no, this is completely optional. I'll be online and I will probably not record that, no. I'll have an Ask Me Anything session on December 7th, same time, 5 to 6:30 p.m. Drop by at any time. I'll just be online. If you have questions on FIO, on the discussion boards, or just general development topics, if you're interested in pursuing certain things, ask me anything. December 7th. If no one shows up, then that's also fine because it's completely optional. Just in case, no. Kasi December 17 pa naman yung deadline for the FIO. You may have seen the memo go out, I don't know, earlier this week, I think. Memo should have been sent. If you have time, no, and please make some time. It only takes a few minutes to complete. No? If you can complete the course and the faculty evaluation online, so by logging into ISIS and you just click on course and faculty evaluations. It's not open yet. No, it will be open starting tomorrow. Will be open until January 3. So strongly encourage all of you to complete the evaluation. And again, you can criticize, no? Especially, we welcome constructive criticism. No? And you can even mention that, too many classes happening at the same time. It was hard to focus on this, that. So you can even mention that as well. So really encourage all of you, no? Because we take this seriously. No? And of course, kung gusto yung gumante, go ahead if you didn't like things, no, during this class. After this course, if you're interested in development work and you want to keep in touch, feel free to do so. I can be a mentor, especially if you're really interested in pursuing national, domestic, local, or international development. I can even give you my personal email address. I can be a mentor. No problem. And I'm happy. I'm really happy to share things, especially if some of you will be interested in the development sector. Okay. Any questions before we move on to Module 5? Maybe you're wondering, sir, kailan kaya babalik yung when can you check homework too? No? I hope I can check it within a week. If not, maybe I'll spend Bonifacio Day checking that. So hopefully before the end of next week, I'll be posting the grades. No? So, we'll see. Okay. So module 5, again, I don't see any questions. No? So module 5, it really harks back to the to the ending of module 1. So I want this to be sort of full circle. No? I gave you a preview, no, of the power of the private sector in development, the role of private sector. Because I like to argue and I like to remind people, no, the old way of thinking really is no development, no, helping people out of poverty, helping address climate change, addressing donut economics, the shortfall. That's the purview. The old thinking was that's the purview of government lang, with the support of NGOs left and right. But actually, no. As we keep saying, no, as I introduced, no, in module 1, no, actually, because the private sector has resources, not just financial, no, it has clearly a role, no, in development, and it can be a powerful force for good. That's the thesis. So here's the outline. No? So I will start the course, and thankfully we have more than 5 of you. There's 6 of you. No? I will start with an article that I actually just read yesterday. It came out yesterday in Business World on capitalism and development, Philippine development. So we'll start with that. I'll give you some time to read it. It's a bit long, no? Then we'll go back to the topics that are on Canvas. Shared Value by Michael Porter. Distinguishing between corporate social responsibility versus creating shared value. Better business, better world. That's still part of the shared value paradigm. No? There are opportunities, no, financial opportunities, while you're addressing development challenges. And I'll just give a glimpse of the final discussion board. And I'll have a few reminders just to cap the course. Okay, so let me. Can I copy? I don't know if I can copy this here. Wait lang ha. Let me just wait. Let me stop sharing. I will copy this on the chat. I'll give you 7 minutes to read it, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on it later. So 7 minutes, 5:20. We'll reconvene. I'll give you 7 minutes for that. Or 5:21. Sige, please go ahead and read that. Okay, sige. Let me go back to the deck now. All right. So, any key takeaways? I'm sure all of you are finished, no? I gave you some time. Any takeaways? Anyone? If you want to share. Go ahead, Marco.
Hello, sir. Do you hear me?
Yes. A bit soft, no? Pero sige.
Um,
Sorry, I can't hear you now.
Hello, sir. Hello. Is that better?
A bit, a bit. Sige.
Okay, sir. I have
Ayan,
to say
that's
that
better.
yes, I have to say that I don't completely agree with the article.
Mm.
First of all, sir, like at the start, it said that ano yun? Uh, yeah, ayun, that capitalism produced the iPhone robots and other things that make us comfortable. But I would say that instead of capitalism, it actually says it should be stated that labor is the one that produced the iPhone robots and electric cars, because capitalism only is the, like, the driving force that funds these, but it's really the workers who do it. And it's just weird to say that capitalism is the sole root of what produces these. And then the part with China as in here that says socialism was actually doing capitalistic stuff. Like, I would say that's kind of wrong, and or so sort of misleading actually, kasi si Deng Xiaoping is labeled as one of the the revisionists of communist people. So kasi yun nga, like what stated here, he uses capitalistic traits in order to quote unquote develop China, and which led to China becoming a imperialist power today. That's one of the things I do not agree with. And also with the free tuition law part, like they said that it's anti-poor because it gives the the richer people a chance to have a scholarship. Pero what they're missing here is that everybody deserves the right to education. So what really should be happening is that all kinds of education should be free as much as possible. So yeah, maybe that's one of my 2 cents. Ganun.
Thank you. I can respond to some of them. And again, I'm not saying that you should or any of you know should completely agree with the article. No? I would also like to ask you, Marco, later. No, what points do you agree with, naman? No? So first, capitalism. You are absolutely correct. Of course, without workers, capitalism will fall flat. No, because of course the important thing there, and that's why we studied the concept of human capital, for example. No, because it's important. Focus on the people is also equally important as well, or more important, in my opinion. I think you're right. It could have been a bit of an exaggeration, but he was saying without the self-interest part, you are right. It's the driving force because without self-interest, um, it wouldn't lead, let's say, the likes of the Samsung or etc. to innovate, no, to create these things, no, and to attract competition. No? China, yes, Deng Xiaoping, he initiated some market reforms, no? Because if you're right, no, China right now it's a mixed bag. It's an imperialist right now, no. But Deng Xiaoping actually introduced a lot of market reforms, so it was a departure from the totally state-controlled thing, no. And now you have both state-owned companies as well as privately owned companies in China. So, and a lot of experts are attributing the market reforms to that. So I completely agree with you that the result right now is China now um, becoming an imperialist. No? That's the present day. No? But there were some market reforms. No? So again, leveraging the self-interest for something that could propel, because the self-interest part, no? If for example, kayo, you want to create a business, no? Part of it could be you want to generate employment, etc. But part of it also is you want to create profit. So that self-interest can actually also create employment. And together with the workers, you're right, Marco, it can produce things, no? Better things. So it's always that tandem between funding and the workers. And I completely agree with you there. No? The free tuition law, that's up for debate, no? Kasi many are saying you're absolutely right, no? But again, there's always that caveat, no? Many services should actually be free, no? Health, education, but um, the reality is we are a developing country, so we cannot provide all the services for free as much as we want to, no? So some are saying the problem kasi with the free education tuition kasi, for example, state universities and colleges, those who are able, kasi in many, let's say UP, no, or in many let's say regions, no, yung SUCs kasi it's hard to get into eh. So they expect na yung mga mas mayayaman would have the necessary money, mag-review, have good private education before applying to the SUC. So they had doon. But I completely agree with you, no? To the certain extent, kung pwede nga sana free yung services, no? Especially those that lead to human capital. Yes, definitely. So thanks for those inputs, no? And again, all the articles that I share with all of you, no? Again, as with anything, please read them with critical minds, no? Both critical and open. No? Now, I wanted to ask you, Marco, what things do you agree with naman?
Yes, sir. Dun sa part na like we need to develop the agriculture kasi yun nga, the Philippines right now is in semi-feudal country, diba? So how do we solve this or address this? One thing that they said is to industrialize the agricultural sector. Tapos how do they do that with capital that helps the farmers with a better land or better equipment, which helps them harvest more produce.
And then we will discuss more of these things later. Yung how capital can actually be a real force for good. So, anyone else? Any key takeaways? And thanks for those points, Marco. Sige, maybe later, no? Or anyone else? For now, I don't see anyone raising his or her hand. Sige. I just, see Nash. Okay, go ahead, Nash.
Hi, sir. My answer is gonna be short lang kasi there's just one. I mean, there were a lot of interesting points, and I thought Marcos' input was interesting as well. Pero what the key takeaway that I was able to get was dun sa my last paragraph where the article said na if we want to eliminate poverty and achieve prosperity, we need to rely not on the state, but on the transformative force of capitalism. To me, this is in theory, like, kasi since nga a lot of, most of the funds are in the private sector, I feel like if it were better allocated, this would be like the ideal framework for it. Na the capitalists' funds would be regulated so that the money can go to certain projects or other places for the citizens and not just on personal interests. So that's the main point I got from it.
Great, thanks. You are absolutely correct. No, I mean, remember, I don't know if you guys were present when I talked about my ideal structure, no, yung social democracy. No? Capitalist siya, pero it has kasi you're right, sometimes it's just pure self-interest. Parang bahala na kaya, just make money. No? The usual Wall Street, no? How we perceive Wall Street, no? But just make money, I don't care how I make money. No? Pero government can, as we discussed in the fiscal part, no, government can set policies to either guard against abuses or incentivize naman yung private sector na dito ka. No, you actually invest in this and I'll provide some incentives to you. So very good point.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else? Nash, go ahead.
Oh
You
no, sir. I
unmuted.
just said thank you.
Okay, great.
Hello?
Yael?
Rinig ba ako?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not too confident in this topic, pero
No problem.
I also like the idea na to just protect the rights of the laborers. Parang instead of parang moving completely away from capitalism kasi nga we're so deep into it na at this point. So parang we can just provide more protection from the abuse nga, and then to just make the best out of yun nga, the private sector. Parang ganun.
Yeah, exactly.
Pero sir,
no?
correct me if I'm wrong, yung ano po ulit yung sinabi niyo kanina, yung social
Social democracy. Social
Democracy.
democracy kasi it's still under a capitalist and democratic structure. Pero there are good laws that guard against abuses of capitalism. And at the same time, you have very, very deep, yung sinasabi ni Marco, for example, very generous and very adequate health and education and other social services, services to the people, no? Plus mga safety nets for a rainy days.
Ito po ba yung mga ginagamit ng mga Scandinavian countries?
Mga ganon, exactly.
I see.
Exactly.
Thank you, sir.
Exactly. All right. So I'll move on, no? Ito, I just took out 4 paragraphs lang. No? So, the problem kasi right now, no, you're right, no, we're too deep into capitalism. The problem is, yun nga, as Chikyamko keeps saying, no, we are under a different capitalism. Eh. You have oligarchs, you have crony capitalism. That's not the capitalism that we want. No? There are abuses, no, but yun nga, ang problema, it's tied to corruption, no, and there are some things, no, pero government can actually institute some policies, no. Greed, yun nga, the question is greed good? Yes, if it can be channeled in the right way, no? And if there's a level playing field, no? So you're not saying dapat capitalism, no? Unbridled, like laissez-faire, no? There should be some guardrails, no? Parang some policies that would, keep an eye out on capitalism as well. So with that, we go to the main topic, no? In Module 5. No? I just wanted to share that kasi I found it interesting yesterday. And tuhog siya. If you think about it, it also covers some of the topics that we went through in Module 4, agriculture, for example. So maganda siya. No? And I think it's good to inspire you guys, hopefully, no, na when you enter the capitalist world, no, where you will be either owners or employees of the private or of businesses, keep that in mind. No? Capitalism can be and should be a force for good. No? And that's why we're moving to this next topic. This one naman, it's more purposive. No? The concept of shared value. No? It's not just creating a business and then okay na yon, it will help address things. No, this is naman, now we're moving more purposive. No? The concept of shared value, as you'll see in Module 5, no, as presented. If you don't have time to read the Harvard Business Review article or paper, just focus on the TED Talk. Magaling magsalita si Porter, so it's not boring at all. So, in simple terms, creating shared value lang naman is addressing a social issue, imagine the SDGs, no, with a business model. No. It's creating, kasi dati, di ba, remember kasi the old paradigm of a corporation is you maximize shareholder value, profit. Yun lang, profit. Pero ito, it's called shared value because you're sharing resources, or your the fruits of the business you're sharing, not just with your shareholders but even to the communities around you. So meron kang economic value plus social value. So it goes bigger than the business. So it's addressing a social issue with the business model. And I'll get to this later, no. The thing is, remember the ano, no, it becomes more sustainable if it is a business. No? Kasi ito, not to undermine, no, I admire I mentioned this also in module 1, I think. I admire the community pantries that sprung up, no, during the pandemic. Pero as you'll notice, no, slowly nawala na sila because uh, obviously hindi dahil there's no more need, no, marami pang nagugutom, but if there is no profit, there's no business model, those purely philanthropic, while we want them and they are definitely a force for good, they will not necessarily be sustained. So sometimes mas maganda if the tool that you're using to solve a social issue has profit, no, it generates profit, it means you can continue the business and you can continue solving the social issue. So this is the idea in brief, no. So again, it's this, addressing a social issue with a business model. And Michael Porter, of course, he's an academic, so I wanted to categorize this into different things. No? There are 3 ways by which a company can create shared value opportunities, and yes, I will discuss that in depth. No? By reconceiving products and markets, that's one. Second, by redefining productivity in the value chain. Third, by enabling local cluster development. So ito, yung cluster, I'll discuss that later. So first is, there's this famous Indian economist before, no, saying, there's fortune at the bottom of the pyramid. So before kasi, no, the old thinking was for the corporates to think na, let's target, no, when you're marketing. I think you guys are, yung marketing niyo yata is December next sem. I don't know. Sometimes, di ba, marketing, you need to have a target audience. No? Before kasi, the corporations would target, let's target the rich kasi they have money, di ba? They're affluent. They can buy things. No? Pero ngayon, no, there's a and this is happening globally, no? There's fortune at the bottom of the pyramid, no? The poor people, no, you can sell to them as well, no? So for example, ito lang, no, very easy example, no? The concept of the sachet economy. Of course, there are some bad result out of this, yung plastic waste. No? Pero for example, no, it's at the same time because addressing some basic necessities of the poor, no? And at the same time, the companies, Procter and Gamble, Unilever, they're making tons of profit. No? Pero it enables kasi the poor to access some things. Of course, that may not be a super great example, but it is an example. There is fortune to be made. No? So I hate to include the pawn shops kasi yun naman, that's taking advantage naman. No? Pero yung sachet economy, for example, yun. Kayo, what's another example of reconceiving products and markets? No? So for example, ito rin, no, kasi yun, reconceiving markets, no? Target market mo. Yeah, another example, yung mga, you probably heard this, no, yung mga rags to riches, no? Parang, they're turning waste into fashionable stuff. No? That's also reconceiving products. No? Parang from waste, you're trying to address environmental challenges by coming up with new products, no? That you can sell. So, yun, yung mga tinatahi yung what do you call this, yung mga cesto bags, etc., etc. So, there's money to be made, and at the same time, you're addressing certain things, livelihood as well as plastic waste. So, kayo naman, any example of reconceiving products or markets? if you can think of any. Okay, if you think of any, okay lang, mamaya. I'll go to the second one. And ito siguro, you can think of this as well. Redefining productivity in the value chain. We discussed the value chain na before, di ba? Value chain is basically from, let's say, agriculture. It's the best example. No? From the cacao bean all the way, the different stages by which a cacao bean goes from the farmer to the different steps and becomes a chocolate bar. So you can influence, no? So for example, ito, kami at USAID, we were supporting before, no, some companies, no, they wanted to help farmers, so, but at the same time they wanted, ito example to, we were working with a company called Kennimer. They source chocolate, no, cacao, no, raw cacao for Mars, no, Mars chocolate, Hershey's, etc. So what they're now doing, no, they're continuing on this, no. They provide livelihood to farmers. Farmers, they entice farmers to switch or to add cacao to their crop, no, to their farmland. They provide training, etc. And they buy the cacao. No? So win-win siya, di ba? New capacity for the farmers, new product line, higher value crop, no? Yung pinag-aralan natin in Module 4. And at the same time, for the business, no, it ensures that they will have a constant supply of cacao beans that they can sell to Mars. So win-win siya. So that's one. So it keeps generating profit. So all the more that they can continue helping these farmers, or they can even expand. No, they can even find other farmers or other cooperatives, no, that they can partner with. So win-win siya. And it doesn't necessarily end, no, kasi sustainable because they're making money, so they can keep doing what they're doing. So ito on the environment side, for example, ito Amazon, no, sikat to in the States. Amazon in recent years, no, they've what do you call this? They tried to save on their packaging costs, no, thinner packaging, but durable as well. No? So they were able to what do you call this? They were able to save some money. Of course, if you save on costs, it affects your bottom line positively. No? So, and at the same time, of course, they're helping address the environment kasi less demand for plastics and boxes. So yun. And on the distribution side naman, kasi of course, di ba, ito ginagawa to usually ng Pepsi and Coke. No? Yun, they provide some, they help the sari-sari stores with signages, with refrigeration equipment. Pero in exchange, they would sell naman yung Coke and Pepsi, no? Exclusive deals. No? So that also helps out, no, livelihood. Pero win-win. It also helps the distribution channel of the soft drink company. So, yeah, those are some examples. Any examples you can think of? Marco, go ahead.
Sir, if I remember correctly, sa Rizal, yung pinunta namin community for NSDP no face-to-face, like they had a problem with water hyacinths invading the place where they fish. What they did was they harvest the water hyacinths and then they make it into various products. So like when we went there, they taught us how to make a notebook cover out of water hyacinths. So that, yeah, and so that's they also teach others how to do it. So yeah, parang ganun siya.
Kaya nga nauso yung concept of I teach this in other SOCSI courses, no, especially to ECO and MECO, yung concept of social enterprises, no. And sometimes that's what you do, no, instead of going to waste. Actually, you have a lot of win-wins there kasi you're addressing the water pollution, the river pollution kasi that's bad. And they're helping themselves kasi I would assume area sila, they're a bit low income, so they're addressing their own needs, no. At the same time, making a business, no? And employing people then as well. So ang daming pwede. No? So yun nga eh. Again, I challenge you. That's why I'm closing the course with this. I challenge you to come to think of those things, no? Like when you try to create a business or join a business, it can be a force for good, no? Whether that's addressing human or environmental needs. So that's a very good example. So pandemic tayo, for example, no, ito. So I saw this last year pa, no. So I was surprised. I didn't know that San Miguel was doing this, no. So ito, of course, there is self-interest, but at the same time, they're using resources to try to help out in addressing plastic waste. To what extent, I don't know. Pero I just found it cool na there's technology pala to turn it into fuel. So which is good. Kasi by the oil nga pala ang plastics are made out of oil. As Dr. Chikiamco mentioned, vaccines, no? You are right, Marco, no? It was made by human hands, no? Pero all of these devices and even the vaccines. Pero of course, without the self-interest push, we wouldn't have Pfizer and all of these other things. No? Of course, some of these are state-owned, no? Like Sinovac, hindi. Yung Sputnik V is state-owned. Pero most of these, no? They're also self-interest. No? Yung Merck, yung Paravir or something, some of these drugs, no? Those are also self-interest. No? As an aside, ito yung malungkot sa medical healthcare science industry, no. UNDP found out before, no. More research and development was actually going to the makeup, yung mga cosmetic industry rather than healthcare, unfortunately. Pero at least, no, this proves that that self-interest can still be devoted to some of these important things. Yeah. So I want to challenge you guys to think creatively, no, when you join or when you create, no, businesses in the future. No? Even sa fourth year ninyo, no, you can create a social enterprise as well. The third, and I'll explain this, enabling local cluster development. So I mean, you don't have to memorize all of these categories. That's not the point. The point is there are many ways. No? Parang religion yan. There are many ways daw to one God. So there are many paths, no, to addressing societal issues. So the third, I will explain this. So there is a concept called a cluster, no? An industry cluster. So think of Marikina, no, before, no, when it was the shoe capital of the Philippines. No? Think of, let's say, Zamboanga for sardines. No? 10 out of the 11 sardine canning companies are in Zamboanga City. Dried mangoes in Cebu, dried fish in Cebu, guitars as well, bananas in Davao, lechon sa Laloma, Tagaytay, Batangas, etc., etc. So, sorry, maybe you were thinking puro food, no, kaya mataba si sir. But yes, there's a lot of food clusters. So what you'll notice, no, when it's a cluster, just to define it first and to describe it, a cluster is, so Marikina, you have the shoe. No? You have the shoe shops. No? Pero within the shoe shops, no, there are various subclusters. No? So this is a footwear. This is a graph from the World Bank. In Brazil, no, there's a footwear cluster there in a certain city. So you have what we call the lead products, no? The actual shoe manufacturers. Pero if you scratch beneath the surface, so to speak, no, you will see other contingent industries. No? So kailangan mo syempre ng suppliers of your metal ornaments, of your leather, of your chemical products, no, supplying to the shoemakers. No? And then, of course, you have your equipment suppliers, etc., etc. And, of course, other suppliers, printing, etc., etc., logistics. So cluster is just, it's more geographic, no? Pero right now with globalization, medyo you can have an international cluster. Pero let's think locally muna. In Marikina, at least before, no, before it sort of disappeared, yun, you have the shoemakers, and then around that area, within that area, you have the leather suppliers, you have the ornament suppliers, you have the chemical suppliers, and then you have equipment suppliers as well, no, et cetera, in one big area. No? So how can you actually, the third way of bringing about shared value is you can actually help any part of the cluster, whether it's this one, it's this one, it's this one, etc. So here's an example for you. So here, what happened was, and of course, sometimes to support an entire cluster, kasi malaki yan. No? Yeah, sometimes these are when the big companies can step in. So for example, Nespresso. So ginawa ng Nespresso because it actually sort of supported an emerging cluster. No? Ginawa yun, may mga butas dito, siya yung nag-facilitate. No? So for example, Nespresso, they need coffee, no? And they don't just need coffee, no, but they need expertise, they need scientific labs, they needed some fertilizers, inputs, etc. So what they did is yun. So Leslie led efforts to increase access to inputs. So they help the farmers get some, of course, for a fee, no? Nagbenta na at low price, no? Fertilizers, irrigation, etc. They trained the farmers, no? Shared their facilities with them, no? So the farmers are earning money, no? Extension program, these are the research labs, no? So they partnered with the good universities and scientific research institutions there to help the farmers, no, in terms of growing techniques. And then they also partnered with NGOs, no, para mas sustainable yung practices. No? So win-win yan because they're helping these other pieces, no, helping livelihood for the farmers, etc. At the same time, that's growing my Nespresso business. Diba? So it's helping the entire cluster as a whole. So ito, if you want to think big, you can affect the industry itself, especially if you're one of the big guys business. And just to distinguish, kasi many of us, when we think of business, private sector being a force for good, philanthropy, I am arguing against, I'm not saying philanthropy is bad. Ito yung mga tipong, kasi wala ng ABS-CBN, so we watch for our news, no? We watch GMA, no? At 7 p.m. Kapuso Foundation will donate chairs or something, school buildings, no? Or will donate for an operation. That's CSR, no? Corporate socialist, traditionally speaking. No? Parang corporations donating and that's it. We will build a classroom, we'll put our logo there, advertise ourselves as well, and then good yan. So that is philanthropy. No? I'm not saying it's bad. The problem, not problem, no, but the weakness of philanthropy, whether it's done by you as a person or as a business, is it's limited. Kasi may budget lang yan for philanthropic activities, di ba? Para school building, di ba? And sometimes you can accuse them of being very parang ginagamit lang, no? Because kapalit niyan is they will have their their logo there and kitang-kita, etc. So it's actually philanthropy but advertising at the same time. And it's not sustainable kasi nga once they donate, that's it. No? That donation is consumed. No? Whereas what we're trying to promote is shared value. It's not philanthropic. It's actually the profit side of business, the profit-making operations will address a social issue. So again, yun nga, di ba, it's more sustainable. Di ba? For example, if I'm helping the farmers and giving them additional livelihood, but I'm buying good quality cacao beans from them, no? In the case of Auro, for example, no? Then that gives me money, that I make money, and in return, I can keep doing that. So it can keep, it's more sustainable. So it's part of your business, no? Whereas sa CSB, nag-donate ako ng 1 million sa farmers na to, bahala na kayo dyan. hands off. No? Pero other than that, wala na. No? So ito, you can keep on doing it and you can further expand. The good thing with CSV, because you're creating profit, you can flow it back and you can even expand the thing that you started with. Diba? So yun yung promise of shared value. So it's a purposive integration of an intent to solve societal challenges, but mainstreaming it or integrating it into your profit operations. So it's a win-win. Again, I am challenging you guys to really think creatively. How can you integrate solving problems or SDGs, for example, in the businesses that you will join or influence in the future or will create? So I also included, and I won't belabor the point, I also included this publication. No? And I just read the executive summary. No? Better Business, Better World. No? The deputy, no, #2 of UNDP before, created this Better Business Commission or something. So in this publication, it's nice. No? They were actually, this is geared towards businesses. Parang they identified some of the market opportunities, no, that are tied to achieving the SDGs. So for example, dito affordable housing, no? You're trying to provide affordable housing for the poor, pero you can create profit as well. No? So win-win siya, no? Renewable energy, no? Ayala right now is, doing renewables now, pero for a profit as well, no? Car sharing helps the environment. Ang dami. So I'm just, reading a few examples. So it can be done. While you're addressing something, you can create profit. Or while you're creating profit, you can address a society. So I'm challenging you guys to actually combine the two once you create your own businesses in the future. So here, to close Module 5, no, on Canvas, don't forget to answer this. No? I want you now to give a good local example of a company that seeks to create shared value. Avoid providing a CSR, no? Yung mga foundation na nagbibigay lang ng money for school building and tapos na, bye-bye. I want you to give me a CSV, no? Creating shared value example. So identify the pathway that we just went through. Again, my synchronous sessions are meant as recap, no, summaries or introduction if you haven't gone through them. So I encourage you to read the materials on Canvas, no, so you can better answer the discussion. And also link them also if you can, no, to the PDP framework. Okay. So we're done. No? I just wanted to say a few things before we end. No? Just to close. No? Unfortunately, I know, no, everyone is so busy. That's why the attendance started dwindling in the middle part and towards the end. Okay lang yun. No? I don't take it personally. As I mentioned, no, I record this in case your classmates would want to listen in sometime. No? And I don't check attendance. Okay lang. So this it's really your responsibility. So just closing the course, just to go full circle again, no? And even before, no, poverty eradication. No? So again, our main objective really is to address poverty and non-income and income as well, no? And the SDGs. No? So, and I challenge everyone in the future, no, that I hope you do your part. No? And again, going corporate doesn't mean you'll abandon. No? Kaya nga Ateneo, I like the fact that Ateneo came out with a lot of these exposure, immersions, for some of you, eye-opening experiences. No? Dati kasi we didn't have big kiss. No? We never had those things. We had immersion 4th year, that's it. I appreciate Ateneo's attempt at that. So it's never too early to start, no? To be aware, to have that lens, no, that you want to bumaba ka sa bundok and help out, no, help address some societal challenges, even while you're still a student. So I thought this is a real story, no? And I never tire of telling this story. No? So circa 2000, um, 21 years ago, no? 21 and a half years ago, right before graduating, no? I was talking to my best friend. No? Mga ano yun eh. That was around Feb or March. Kasi March pa yung graduation. Kasi ako, I knew what I was gonna do after college. I went to JVP, no? Jesuit Volunteers Philippines. By the way, you should consider that as well. No? If you want some more exposure and to be of service as well, that's 1 year worth of volunteer service. So siya naman, he was thinking, kasi parents niya sabi, di, mag-corporate ka. No? He was asking me, pre, ikaw, kasi ako all the while, I was thinking after JVP, NGO ako, development sector. No? Siya naman, corporate eh. He was going corporate. Ang tanong niya, pre, paano yan? Ang sama-sama ako na, di ba? Magko-corporate ako. Kasi of course, before, our thinking, and even now, no, some people think corporate evil yan. I told him, that's actually, and I don't even remember that I told him this, no? He reminded me siguro 5 years after na. Uy, sinabi ko ba talaga? I basically told him, pre, ang problema, kapag lahat tayo pumasok sa development or sa NGO, paano na yung corporate world? You'll, di ba, the old thing is you leave it to the wolves, no? To the evil ones. No? Pero yun nga, again, I'm challenging you because you guys are management students. Most of you will create businesses or will enter the corporate world. It's not bad. You can still help out. You can affect any change in any sector. Let me just get my pointer. That's why we also explored shared value examples, especially for you guys. If you're really interested in NGO, government work, or the development sector, feel free to keep in touch. You have my contact details, though I don't know if I'm still going to teach at Ateneo next year. Next sem, yes, no, next year. Medyo busy na talaga sa work and family life. So, kasi I teach part-time. Diba? So, I can give you my personal email address if you want to keep in touch. Some tips, since you guys are still studying, read the news. I'm sure many of you already are reading the news. I know naman who are the ones very actively reading the news. My top choices are these outfits, Manila Bulletin, Philippine Star, Business World, and Business Mirror. Kasi they are more objective. Kasi may mga, as I mentioned to you, there are some that are very obviously biased against the administration. Some naman are very pro. So, itong mga to, may. But of course, feel free to read other outfits. Be a critical reader. Don't readily believe what's reported by media. Especially, of course, you know this. You guys are highly educated or what you see on social media. So if something is like, wow, talaga ba? Take time to double check, triple check with other sources. Kasi some media outfits are very sensationalist or they have a biased way of framing things. Participate in socially oriented organizations or integrate development principles in other orgs. I had economic students before, earlier this year, yes, second sem of the last school year. Sabi, sir, gusto na namin tuloy mag-social enterprise. We want to introduce these social enterprise concepts, AEAs, Ateneo Economic. Diba, it's not known necessarily for being development-oriented, pero you can, diba? Participate in socially oriented organizations. Or you integrate. Kung hindi naman talaga socially oriented yung org, you can still integrate. The concept of shared value is you can start small by integrating. You can, of course, participate in protests, mobilization after careful consideration. Integrate development objectives in project ideas. For example, in your fourth year, you will be creating businesses. But of course, always make sure there's a market. Kasi sometimes gusto niya, ang ganda nitong product, but wala palang market. Make sure there's a market, of course. And again, never tire of reading up on good examples. Revisit examples in this course if you want. And I hope you take your NSTP classes and your OSCE-oriented classes seriously. But while you're trying to help avoid the Messiah complex, na, yeah, I will change the world. I'm the, I'm the hot shot. No? Sometimes as Athenians, when you graduate, kala mo, galing-galing natin. No? But when you graduate, konti pa lang alam natin. So be humble no, while you're trying to serve. Lastly, you guys are adults, so I hope you are registered to vote. Please vote in 2022. All right, so that concludes the class. Any questions or comments? Wala na yata. All right. So yun lang. So that ends Socksci 13. I hope you found at least some of them very useful, no? Even if you're busy with your majors, especially. Third year kasi medyo yan ay humihirap na. Sabi nga nila, first year is hard. It peaks on your third year. Fourth year, medyo mas okay na. So you're in that climax no, of hard work. No? So yun. So I hope you found some of the insights useful as well. So again, maraming salamat, especially to those of you who have consistently attended the synchronous session and made it less lonely for me. Kasi I would have gone, even if no one showed up, I would have gone and recorded it anyway. So okay pa din. I really appreciate that many of you, especially the 5 of you, were regulars in this class. Again, December 7, just in case you have questions, I will be online 5 to 6:30 for an Ask Me Anything session. Okay? All right. Maraming salamat, guys. Have a good evening. Have a good rest of the semester. Bye-bye. Take care.
Bye, sir. Thank you.